So you're about to start a big project. You hire a contractor, and it's an act of faith, right? You sign on the dotted line, you hand over that first check, and you just trust that the vision you both agreed on is actually going to happen. But what happens when that trust is broken? When the work is a mess, and suddenly your contractor is impossible to get a hold of? Okay, let's really get into it. We're going to peel back all the layers of legal and financial protection that kick in when a project goes south. We'll start with the initial promise, then we'll untangle the difference between insurance and bonds, because they're not the same thing. After that, we'll look at the legal shield a corporation offers, how that shield can sometimes be broken, and finally, wrap it all up with why this is so important for you to know. Every single project, big or small, it always starts with a promise. You've got the blueprints all laid out, the contract is signed, the work finally starts. It's a really exciting moment. But let's be honest, it's a moment that always carries some risk. And that leads to the million-dollar question, right? When things do go wrong, who foots the bill? Well, the answer isn't as simple as you might think. There's this whole hidden architecture of risk management that we're about to explore together. So, first things first, let's look at the most basic idea of how responsibility even works in these contracts. It all boils down to one simple but really important principle: transferring the risk. And this is just standard practice in business. I mean, it makes perfect sense, right? The person with the most control over the work, that's the contractor, they're the ones in the best position to actually manage the risks. So the financial responsibility, it gets shifted to them. It's their job to nail it, and it's on them if they don't. Okay, so that brings us to the very first safety net. And honestly, this is where a ton of confusion happens. You hear people use the words insurance and bond like they're the same thing, but they are completely different tools built to solve completely different problems. So check this out. This slide breaks it down perfectly. On one side, you've got your regular CGL insurance. That's commercial general liability. Think of it as a simple two-party deal between the contractor and their insurance company. If their shoddy work causes damage, like a poorly installed pipe floods your new kitchen, the insurance pays for the damage. But on the other side, you've got a performance bond. Now, this is a three-way agreement between the contractor, you, the project owner, and a surety company. And if your contractor just disappears or goes bust, the surety company steps in to make sure the job actually gets finished. So if you remember just one thing, remember this. Insurance pays for the consequential damage. It cleans up the mess. A bond, on the other hand, pays to finish the job itself. It protects you from that catastrophic failure where the contractor just walks away. One covers the oops, the other covers the they're gone. All right, let's move on to the next layer of protection. This one isn't a policy you can buy, it's a legal structure. We're talking about the power of the corporation itself and this huge concept called limited liability. This idea is pretty much the engine of modern business. It lets people take risks by creating a separate legal person, the corporation, that's responsible for its own debts. So if the business goes under, the owner's personal home, their car, their savings, all of it is protected. The best way to picture it is as a legal wall, what they call a corporate veil, that stands between the business and the person who owns it. It's a shield that, in most cases, is, and really should be, incredibly tough to break through. But it's not invincible. Right. So what happens when that shield isn't used to encourage honest risk-taking, but to commit fraud or just duck responsibility? Well, that brings us to our final and most dramatic line of defense: piercing the corporate veil. This is a huge deal in the legal world. It's a rare and really powerful move where a judge basically says, you know what, this corporation isn't a real separate business. It's just a shell, an alter ego for the owner. And then they go directly after the owner's personal money and assets. Now, courts don't do this just for fun. They look for very clear signs that the owner isn't treating the company like a separate entity at all. Are they mixing their personal and business bank accounts? Are they siphoning money out of the company for personal use? Is the business just a facade, a personal piggy bank with no real capital or records? If the answer to these questions is yes, that veil can absolutely be pierced. Okay. Theory is one thing, but let's look at how this plays out in the real world. There was this case out of Michigan where a building company did some really faulty work on a house and then just filed for bankruptcy, leaving the homeowners with a huge mess. So the homeowners did something bold. They sued the owner of the corporation personally. And the court's reasoning here? Wow, it's really powerful. They argued that a consumer protection law is designed to regulate actions, not just business names on a piece of paper. A corporation, a legal fiction, can't actually do anything deceptive. A person does. And because a person commits the act, that person can be held responsible, no matter what company they're affiliated with. So the bottom line, the court let the lawsuit against the owner move forward. It was a clear message that the corporate shield is a privilege, not some absolute right. And when it's abused to hurt people, it can and will be taken away. Okay, so we've torn through insurance, bonds, corporate veils, a lot of legal jargon. So what's the big takeaway? How does any of this actually help you in the real world? Well, understanding these different layers gives you a ton of power. It lets you be proactive instead of reactive. Before you hire anyone, do your homework. Check their reputation online, see if they belong to a real trade association, ask for a copy of their liability insurance policy, see how their business is actually set up, and maybe, most importantly, get every single detail in a clear, well-written contract. All that work up front, that's your absolute best defense. And all of this leaves us with a final, really tricky question, doesn't it? That corporate shield is vital for our economy. It gives people the confidence to start a business and take risks. But at the same time, the law has to recognize that this protection can't just be a blank check to behave badly. So the challenge is, and it always will be, finding that perfect line between protecting legitimate business and holding individuals accountable when they cross it.